It's John Beaudin from Rock History Music, and we're up to our interview with the original Guess Who drummer, Garry Peterson, and Derek Sharp, who's been their lead singer since 2008. Now, there's a lot of controversy surrounding the current version of the Guess Who, and I know that, you know that, they haven't performed in Canada in a long time where promoters, it sounds like, don't want to let them in. Whether that's the promoters, original guitarist Randy Bachman, their famed singer Burton Cummings. They have a new album called Plein d'Amour. It does not sound like the Guess Who. They say they did not want it to sound like the traditional Guess Who. But judging from some of the comments we've had on here, and we did ask these two guys, is it still really the Guess Who? Some folks have problems with these guys still touring under the band name. One thing's for sure, though, Garry Peterson is having a lot of fun. He still enjoys, he says, what he does. And as I said, Derek Sharp, their lead singer, has been there since 2008. The guy can really sing. Do the fans know the difference when they go to see the Guess Who? Do they know? Do they care? It's always a question that I ask on every single podcast and every single one of our videos. So I put this interview out in its whole with this explanation, with this preface. And one last thing before we get on there is a section where I don't know who Derek Sharp's wife is. She'll be on because I interviewed her the week right after, and you'll get maybe a good laugh out of it. I say you got to make fun of yourself sometimes. Here they are. Garry Peterson, the original drummer of the Guess Who, going way back, and Derek Sharp, their lead singer since 2008, the Guess Who. A rock history book.
I have hair, but it's short.
You still have hair. Good for you, man.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, okay. But I don't know how much time we've got, but the new single, very rocky horror picture show intro to that single, very rocky horror.
The Plein d'Amour, yeah, okay.
Is it Plein d'Amour? Is that how am I saying it right?
You're close.
So how do you say it?
Plein with a smile. Plein.
Oh, plein.
Plein, P-L-E-I-N, because if it's plein, plein is means map.
So are you French?
No, yes.
Well, I used to be French. Beaudin. My family was
I was
French.
gonna say I'm surprised with a name like that. My wife's from Montreal, and yes, I do speak French, not as well as her, but
well, tell me about the song with this one. Even though I like The King more, but Plein d'Amour, I'm like going up. I'm doing housework this morning. It's with me. It's with me. Tell me about the tune.
You're not the first person to say that. I've heard this story 3 times already, and which is a good sign. I'll tell you how it started. Gary Gary liked a song I had written with this fella from Toronto, and he said, we got to do this song. And I was like, well, it's not, I wasn't 100% convinced with it. So I don't know how I remember the whole conversation, Gary. Maybe you can expand on this, but I did do a rewrite. I did a rewrite of it, and I just used the middle section that he wanted to use, and I came up with this whole new song. Now, we had already written the whole record, and there was a definite theme to it, and we wanted to have this positive message coming out of the dark depths of hell, and I thought, what a great thing, full of love. That it's like all you need is love, but we say it in French and it doesn't sound as goofy.
Well,
go ahead.
And really why I wanted to do that song was not so much because of the lyrical content, but if you listen to the rest of the album, this has more of a heavier edge, the middle part of the song. And I thought that the album could use that rock kind of anthem feel, and that's why I like that song of all the songs Derek had written, and which I love. Yep. I love a lot of his songs. He's got great material. We have enough for many more albums.
Yeah. Well, I will say, like, I'm staying on the same theme. So then we started playing this song live, like what, a month ago, Gary, maybe? Mm-hmm. It hasn't been that long because it just came out. And it, usually when you're a band like the Guess Who and you're playing some songs that have been around for so long, like 60 years in some cases, it's kind of weird when you just throw in, a new song. We've been very successful with that. We had a little bit of success with Haunted, and there's a lot of people that come to our shows that know the new songs, but we just threw this one in. And I swear to God, every time we play it, it goes over and people are singing it by the end of the song. So back to what you're saying, John, is it's stuck in your head. I think that's a good thing. First of all, you bothered to listen to it, so thank you.
Well, oddly enough, I'm still learning how to play properly, and my most proud moment on the album is one quarter note on the floor tom-tom, and I'll let you find it somewhere on the album. It took me 60 plus years to learn to play that one note.
The single "The King," I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that. Queenish, I like that. I like the layered vocals. Love the piano. Tell me about that tune.
Well, you forgot 10cc.
Yes, 10cc.
Like I know, mind you, a lot of people compared it to Jellyfish. I always say, for number one, I'm older than those guys, and number two, they were doing the same thing when they came out. So it's clear that we all like that kind of music. The King was an ambitious endeavor. And it was like, and then, I remember debating this with Gary and Michael, should we do a song like this? Isn't that weird to have the Guess Who play a song like that? We're like, but here we are. I mean, you talk about, your journey as a musician in life, trying to get better all the time. And you have to do the same thing with a band, which is why we try to keep our unit together, because a band is just one collective. And to do challenging music like that, and it was a challenge, especially vocally. It was like, we got to do this because this is us now. This isn't us 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. That was then, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just what are we about? So we started out with a bang, and The King. We just found out yesterday that somebody's already covered it. I have a video. Somebody sent me a YouTube video. A guy covered it. And they did a pretty good job. I was like, wow.
It's ambitious. It really is. I mean, it's big. Both of those songs are like, the new single. I wrote down here when I first heard it. I always write down because I used to be a rock critic. 60s, folky, proggy, rocky. Because it's got elements of all those things to me.
It's actually a journey through music.
Well, that's a good point, Gary, because if you think of it, all the best music that you like takes time, right? If you write songs that are full of ear candy that you like right away, chances are you'll probably get sick of it. Great music, if you look back at your own journey with music, you want to listen to things that every time you listen to it, you discover something new. You know what I mean?
In symphonic music, they have movements, and those two songs have different movements. They go from a folk feel to, Lord of the Rings, through a kind of almost bluegrass at some point, and then there's a Zeppelin kind of like feel. So that's like a mini symphony in a way. And that's what music is. It takes you on different journeys. And it's great to play that. I would sitting on stage playing The King thinking, I didn't ever think I'd play anything like this on stage in my life, right? So it's wonderful.
Well, speaking of that, with the different sounds, the first thing I thought of is, well, this doesn't sound like the Guess Who, because I was telling this to Pete Agnew of Nazareth. I told him last two times I talked to him. So I said, I liked your new stuff. And I said, but you're heavier now than you've ever been. He says, yeah, I think so. And I really, really like it because I've always wanted to play something on this edge, but no one was doing it back then. And with the Guess Who, and we had this conversation with Ray and Smitty Quit Trooper. Oh my God, the fans went nuts. They're going crazy.
They did?
Well, I went on live. I went on live and I did a thing when they didn't quit. They retired, and they're allowed to retire. People. So what's your take when people say, well, Oh God, it's not the Guess Who anymore.
There's been so many versions of the Guess Who number one. I mean, Gary's better to answer this because he was in all of them. But I don't think there's a lot of bands that people have retired, but the Guess Who really never had one lineup. They have in America, they know a couple of songs and they associate it with that particular lineup. But and Gary, you could elaborate on this more. So we're just like basically the fifth version of it.
Well, I said earlier, I'm still learning to be a drummer. And so is everybody else in the band, whether it's us or the old members of the band. And if you're not going forward, you're not going anywhere. So we're changing as we get older and as we listen to other music. You're always influenced by everything you listen to, and hopefully you're getting better. The music can never stay the same as it was. We can't play No Sugar Tonight now as a record. That's not what we're writing. That's not what we're feeling. We're not even feeling that now. That was
and it was done already.
Yeah, and it was done, and we were 21 years old at the time. That's a different era. That's gone. We're now in The King and Plan d'Amour. We're playing these kind of songs, and it's very exciting. It's great, and I hope the fans, when they come to see the band, they realize exactly what we're doing and how we feel about the music.
We don't have to go down this rabbit hole, but I'll just put it this way. There's Facebook reality and then there's reality. And what happened with Miles, I know Miles quite well. And I know Marty, who wrote his book. And he's Miles, a talented guy, a great guy. He's got this great legacy behind him. But what happens when you get on this social media and you're this whole new reality gets created by people that half of them don't even come to your concerts, in my experience.
That's true.
It's like sometimes we'll get like a lot of people get it worse than us, believe me, but the other time we get a comment about how come this guy isn't here, whatever. It's never the same as what happens when we play a show. They almost all sell out. We have people singing all the new songs and they follow along. They're fans of the band. They don't sit on Facebook all day and write about it because they're going to shows. So I think that's what happened with maybe Miles that influenced it is like you have this Facebook reality versus reality. And in his case, which has happened to a lot of people now, you're just getting older and it's just harder and harder to tour, which, I can sympathize with because it is hard. Gary's going to be 78 in another month, right? And he's got to get up, get on a plane, get in the car, you go here, we got to go to sound check. We got to,
And after I leave this Zoom call, I'm right over next to there, and I'm going to play my drums and practice.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
awesome. But I think you raise a good point with the, but from the Guess Who standpoint, I've been in this band 15 years, which isn't as long as Gary, it's about a quarter as long as Gary. But the point is we've been on this trajectory for longer than the last month. We've been talking about this. We wrote like some of the songs we were talking about. Gary and I were talking about 15 years ago. It's just trying to figure out how to make it work. We don't have to go down this rabbit hole, but I'll just put it this way. There's Facebook reality and then there's reality. And what happened with Miles, I know Miles quite well. And I know Marty, who wrote his book. And he's Miles, a talented guy, a great guy. He's got this great legacy behind him. But what happens when you get on this social media and you're this whole new reality gets created by people that half of them don't even come to your concerts, in my experience.
That's true.
It's like sometimes we'll get like a lot of people get it worse than us, believe me, but the other time we get a comment about how come this guy isn't here, whatever. It's never the same as what happens when we play a show. They almost all sell out. We have people singing all the new songs and they follow along. They're fans of the band. They don't sit on Facebook all day and write about it because they're going to shows. So I think that's what happened with maybe Miles, that influenced it is like you have this Facebook reality versus reality. And in his case, which is happening to a lot of people now, you're just getting older and it's just harder and harder to tour, which, you know, I can sympathize with, because it is hard. You know, Gary's going to be 78 in another month, right? And he's got to get up, get on a plane, get in the car. You know, you go here, we got to go to sound check. We got to, you know, you know.
And after I leave this Zoom call, I'm right over next to there, and I'm going to play my drums and practice.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's
So,
awesome. But,
you know,
but I think you raise a good point with the, you know, but I mean, from the Guess Who standpoint, I've been in this band 15 years, which isn't as long as Gary, you know, it's about a quarter as long as Gary. But the point is we've been on this trajectory for longer than the last month. I mean, we've been talking about this. We wrote, like, some of the songs we were talking about, Gary and I were talking about 15 years ago. It's just trying to figure out how to make it work.
I am.
Because Ricky, was it Ricky Lawson? Is that his name? The guy who wrote the Guess Who book? I said, Ricky, what should I ask? Give me some questions that you know, because I like other people's point of view. He says, oh my God, please ask him how the book's coming. So,
Well, we're very busy, so it's coming slowly, and I'm having, you know, revision because I have many doors in my mind, and sometimes when you go through one door, many more are opened, and the book is really about my experience in this band, which is most of my life. And I want to make sure that it's correct. I only did it so that I could set down the facts the way I remember them. Nothing else.
a lot of people talking, yeah, from different sides. And I'm glad you're doing it, because it's really important, you know.
Well, I didn't. People have been bugging me for years to do it, and I really didn't want to do it. But then one day I was sitting in my backyard in Florida here and looking at the old trees, the oaks that are over 200 years old. And I thought, you know, these have been here for a long time. I need to get this down before it's too late, you know. So that's what really started it.
The AI thing, that's like, you know, there was this Weekend Drake song, and there's a headline I saw this morning, Drake or Fake. Like Gary, when you were starting off, the industry was so, I just talked to Randy Bachman again a few months ago, and he was going, oh my God, like, it's just I feel like I've just been brought down on a different planet. And think about 20 years from now when we're all gone. Well, you might not be. The good looking guy over there, I don't know. He might be around.
About Gary or me?
I think in 20 years, I don't know if I'll be here. But anyway, but what do you guys think of that? I mean, there's that side of the world that's just taken over. It's bigger than us. It's going to happen no matter what we think of. But what's your thoughts when you hear a fake song coming out by a computer?
Well, it is what it is. I mean, it's going to happen, right? So who cares? All we can do is continue to do what we're doing. And and as long as there's an audience to have it, then we show up, right? You know, I don't really have a personal problem with it, because it has nothing to do with me. It is scary, you know, because it's foreign to all of us. You know, you and I are very close in age, John. You know, it is the unknown is scary, and the world seems to be you know, getting heavy. But then again, my grandparents said the same thing. So yeah. Does it just mean more arts, or?
I have things that bring me back to earth. You mentioned Randy Bachman. Mm-hmm. And I have things like, I looked at a picture yesterday of us playing live, probably in 1963 or 62. And Randy was playing drums, and I was playing alto sax on Honky Tonk Part 2. So that's not AI. that was reality. And so it brings you back to the reality of how we performed, you know. Oh, I couldn't play sax and Randy couldn't play drums, but we did it live without any help.
I asked Carl Dixon last year, what does it feel like to play these songs when you were with the Guess Who? And, you know, he was with April Wine too for a while. But I said, what did it feel like? You know, these songs that were sung by this other guy. And he says, it's daunting a little bit, but not for long, because you get up there because you're a musician, you do your thing. That's what you do. It's like when people ask me, do you get nervous before an interview? I said, no, it's what I've been in radio 40 years. I don't get nervous. Bill Bruford made me nervous a little bit, but other than that, what's your take on it? Singing, Derek, these songs. Was there ever a moment where you went, "Oh boy"?
No, not at all. Well, the circumstances for me joining were a bit different because I thought I was just filling in, and it just kind of organically happened, and then. You know, really, the reason I'm still here was mostly due to Garry, and we started talking about music we liked and stuff like that. We had a lot of things in common, and when I started, we did a lot of back catalog. It was all Guess Who stuff. Like it was 90 minutes of, you know, deeper cuts and this and that, and over time. I guess I don't know when, but at some point along the way, we were like, okay, are we going to we're doing this the rest of our lives, or are we going to go in the direction? You know, sorry, it doesn't answer your question very well, but it's important to know that, number one, and secondly, as far as doing a show, you're always in the moment, especially when you're playing live. You know, you can make a mistake. Crazy things happen, something goes off, these people are still sitting in front of you waiting for a show, and every time you play to a different audience, it's a different experience, no matter what anybody says. So when you sing these songs, they become about them, not you. We're just trying to, I mean, as far as the old stuff goes, we try to do them somewhat like the records, so they're recognizable and people can relate to them, because those songs were important to people. Why would we do them why do we fuck them up?
Yeah.
You know, because it's not about us.
That's what people tell Bruce Hornsby all the time. Bruce, last time I talked to him, he says, oh, everyone wants to hear the way it is, just the way it is. But he's known for changing. Mm-hmm. He never plays the same song twice, but he's gotten a niche for that now. He's one of those guys that does that. Most people can't do that, and their audience don't want them to do that. I
think it depends who the artist is, and that's actually a great example, John. There are people who are just so great that they could do like Ray Charles. They could do anything, and people would accept it. You know, but we're talking about two different things, right? You know, you asked me the question about singing a song that somebody else sang. You know, a lot of people can say that. But you know, it doesn't, and my answer was, well, it's not about me.
I'm doing a 40-part, it's adventurous, but I used to syndicate a show called the Cross Canada Report. I've interviewed a lot of CanCon artists. So it's a 40-part history of Canadian music. Why am I doing this? It's crazy. Cool. But and I'm asking every Canadian artist and international artist actually about what Canadian artists really wowed you. Who out there for both of you?
Age Before Beauty, Garry.
Well, there's so many. You know, if you're talking modern, Michael Bublé, when I first heard him, I went, are you kidding me? Gordon Lightfoot. I mean, that's as Canadian as it gets. You know, there were great bands in both that are not. Some of the musicians are still alive today, but in Toronto and Montreal, the old rock and R&B bands, that first time I ever saw them, it was like, are you kidding me? This is incredible. So Canada has produced so much that it's very difficult to say one. Sass Jordan, you know, I mean, God, you know, Canada has for the amount of people there a plethora of talent in entertainment.
Well,
Right.
Derek, you've worked with Sass.
You know, I may have. Did you check your notes, buddy?
I did. You didn't?
No?
Oh, okay.
You don't know that we've been married for 27 years?
By the way, did you hear what happened with your husband last week or the week before? Did he tell you?
Oh, it's you? You're the guy?
I'm the guy.
Oh, hey.
I love that you don't know that because you're like the only guy on earth that doesn't.
I don't know that.
Very good.
I'm a research pig. But I don't usually do the
The gossip.
Oh, yeah.
What the heck? This is going to make a good blooper reel. I don't usually, for whatever, he looks at me and so Gary's talking about working with people, and then he says Sass Jordan, and
Luckily you said, oh yeah, that she's good.
and I say, oh, I know you, because he, in his bio that was sent to me, I think through Eric Alper, it says, and he's worked with Sass. Then I go, so you've worked with, and he says, I have. And I'm going, I actually turned around during the interview going, what, am I missing something? He says, you might be the only guy on the planet who doesn't know I'm married to Sass Jordan. And then he said something later.
That's awesome.
It makes a fabulous blooper reel because this is the first time it's ever happened to me.
Then he says something later in the interview, and I said, I'm starting to wonder if you even know Sass Jordan. Anyway, there you go.
That's hilarious. Well, I was going to ask you when you asked the first question about Canadian artists that keep going. I mean, Sass would definitely fit in that category. But I just want, do you mean people that are still
Doesn't matter
making music or people that have stopped? Because I mean, the list is endless. How many great?
Endless.
That's awesome. Well, Sass, she's still making records. She's still moving. She's like us. We're just moving in that direction. I know a lot. Bryan Adams is the same way. He seems to keep going. There are a lot of people that don't, but it's I can't think. Colin James, he's another guy that keeps putting out a record every year. He's the real deal. People like that, I applaud them because of their tenacity, and they're like, they never rest on their laurels. I think it's probably rare because it's hard to keep a band together and on the road. It's expensive. It's touring, and especially when you get older. Number two, it's not easy to be creative when you're 20, when you're not 21 anymore. What the hell are you going to write about that's interesting to other people?
What is that hunger, though? What is that thing? I'm always asking people, okay, you know what? You're way older than I am. A lot of people say, well, it's good exercise being up there, which it is, actually. It's good exercise. Why would I quit doing this? The old adage of quitting at 65. I don't want to quit my broadcasting job in Vancouver.
Well, look, at most cultures in the world respect their elders. That's just the way it is. Only in this part of the country do they kind of cast the old people aside. But I say this every night in the show. You get a guy like Garry who's been playing since he was 4 years old. All he knows is playing the drums. If it were me and I'm in the audience looking at this guy, I'm like, this is the person I want to see. He has a whole lifetime of stories that a 21-year-old just doesn't, only because of time. You know what I mean? And people like Garry, they're not going to be around forever, and a lot of them aren't, right? Neil Peart's gone, John Bonham's gone, Taylor Hawkins just, like, how the fuck did that happen? And so I think it's something to be. I think people should take a look at that, especially if you like live music. We should be celebrating people like this.
Which brings me to this. Okay, when Taylor died, my first thought was the hardest thing that can happen. I don't know the circumstances. I don't know his life. I never met the guy. But I thought to myself, sometimes the hardest thing that can happen to someone is to get everything you want. Sometimes, people talk about when the audience is gone, I'm left by myself. It's really difficult. And I've heard that from so many people. I understand that. I don't, but I understand it loosely. I'm going to ask you this question. People always laugh when I ask this question. Gary, why did you not die? Why are you still here? How come you didn't end up on the sewer floor? Because one person, who was it? I forget who it was that told me. He says, I should be dead. He said, he said, you want to know why I'm not dead? Is that what you want to ask? I said, well, yeah. Okay, why did you survive all that? Gary, what made you? We lost a lot of the guys down the road.
The answer to this question is why we do this. You touched on that just a little bit before.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you keep doing it? Because it's like a drug. And it's actually more than a drug, because entertaining people, it's like being a healer. You get a kick out of what the music does to them. It can make them happy. It can make them sad. It emotes all kinds of emotions from human beings. And even though the crowd is gone from night to night, you should take, and musicians especially should take heart. There's going to be another one tomorrow. So you can have that feeling over and over again, and don't search for anything else. You're a musician, you like to create music, you're creating music for people to enjoy. It's pretty simple.
It's a good drug.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
It's
the best of all.
Wow.
That's why I'm still here.
I said the world needs that right now. Yeah. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
nonsense going on, but this helps people.
Yeah. A psychologist told me years ago, I was interviewing him, he said, we were off air, and he says, like, what's going on with you? I go, what are you talking about? Oh, I'm transparent. He says, you're going through something. And he says, did you put your pants on in the morning? I said, yeah. You got here? Yeah. And because I told him I was going through divorce. And he said, go to a concert, man. That's 2 hours. Just go to a concert. 2 hours where you cannot not have fun. You have to have fun. That respite, it's crazy. People don't, I don't want to overanalyze it, but you go there, you're not thinking about your mortgage.
And did you wear that shirt too?
I didn't wear flashy shirts back then.
When you put on those pants, you had to put on that shirt.
Nope.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When are they going to allow us to play in Canada?
So what is that? That was one of the questions.
What are you talking about? Our biggest show last year was in Sherbrooke.
Yes, it was.
So that's Canada.
I know we get so many people saying, when are you coming? Why? When? Why?
Okay.
We as a band would love to play in Canada. We would love to play there.
Okay.
So we just need someone to book us.
No, this doesn't make any sense, though. I mean, why wouldn't people want? You're still selling out everywhere. Why is this a legal thing you can't talk about?
No.
But
there are only two major agents in Canada, and I think maybe I don't know the.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
One books the other, and there's only so much room for. But what we do. And what some former members do are completely different things, and rightly so. The situation with us, again, it is different. You want me to explain? Randy Bachman had 3 bands he was in, and he plays material from that, right? Burton Cummings he was only in the band 10 years. He has a certain, and then he had a solo career. He does that. We're doing all 5 versions. We celebrate the past with, and then maybe 60% of our show is that, and the other 40% is us. So that's the difference. And there's no reason why we always take the high road. I have no problem with any of this. The problem doesn't ever come from us.
No, because why I brought it up is because I feel bad. You see these people asking, why don't you come here? And they think we don't want to come to Canada. And that's not the truth. We would love to play anywhere on the earth. So, and I think
And we've always welcomed former members to step forward if they want to join. That's no problem. It's not our choice; it's theirs.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Because we're just a happy bunch.
Okay. Last question. What's the craziest thing a fan's ever done to you?
I got a story. What about you, Gary? You go first. I don't know if I can tell one.
Yes, you got to tell it.
I don't recall anything.
Okay, well, you were there. This one, I don't know if you remember this because it was a long time ago, but I'll set this up. When we were younger, people would throw their bras or whatever, panties on stage, and all these little things, and it was sexy or whatever you would call it, right? We were young. So this bra comes sailing up onto the stage, and it's one of those, Jane Russell from 1945 cross. You could eat soup out of it. It was one of these things, right? I picked it up. I was like, "This is what it's come to."
Yeah. Well,
Right.
I'm too far back from the front of the stage. You'd have to be,
No, you don't want that.
Yeah, I'm kind of protected back there.
Oh God, good.
So, anyways, that's the only thing about getting older is your audience does with you. And I have nothing against Jane Russell cross your heart bras or anything, but it's it's
Remember Cross Your Heart Bras? Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a boner killer, if you know what I'm saying. It's like your grandmother. Reminds you of your grandmother.
By the way, the new stuff streaming really well. I've noticed that it's doing really well.
Absolutely, I think it was the King had the highest debut in the something or other. I have to look it up, but we've been really happy with how things are going. Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, I'm relearning the business now because it's nothing like the days of RCA Records and music and how you produce it, how you present it to the audience at large. It's a total different dynamic. So as I'm trying to learn to be a better drummer, I'm trying to learn to be a better artist as well. So otherwise I should stay home and hang up my spikes.
Well, I hope the books release in the next couple of years. It would be really, really nice to.
Well,
I eat this stuff up.
If the band is so busy, I have no time I only have time for playing, and it'll get finished, and then we'll put it out.
Yeah.
The book is called A Band of Brothers.
Yeah. Which it was, yeah. Okay, cool. Guys, thank you. I got to go look after my autistic wonder because my wife's going to work. She's 25 and she never stops.
That's awesome. Hey, John, it was really nice talking to you.
Yes.
Say hi to Sass for me.
Actually, she'll get a kick out of it because usually it's the other way around. I can't get people not to mention it. And the fact that you were completely clueless about it is awesome.
Yeah, crazy.
That's amazing.
Anyway, take care, guys. Thank you so much for your time. Take care, guys.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, guys. See you.
Well, there you have it. Derek Sharp, who's been the lead singer of the Guess Who since 2008, and Garry Peterson, who's been the drummer all along for the Guess Who. We asked the questions, is it still the Guess Who? Many I know are divided with this, or thinking this is not the Guess Who anymore. Others go see them and enjoy them. They haven't really played outside of Quebec. One show last year in Canada. Leave your comments. Tell us what you think. I've interviewed Randy Bachman a few times. He told me what he felt about it. We're trying to get an interview with Burton Cummings, the two original driving forces in the Guess Who. Buy a t-shirt, support the channel. You can make a donation, get on our Patreon, get early access to all our videos. I'm John Beaudin. This is Rock History Book. Take care of yourself.